Greetings, everyone. This is Professor Math, and for this week in review in Chicago, mostly Bears, I am pivoting from my usual takes on improving the Chicago Bears to address something which is far more important, that is, protecting our basic U.S. citizen rights and trying to help the everyday U.S. citizen who is struggling with paying our bills because of the rising costs of our groceries and gas bill and every other thing that has been negatively affected by the Trump tariffs. So for this week's segment, I'd like to cover two topics. The first is why am I changing my focus from how to improve the Chicago Bears to focusing on how to defeat Donald Trump. The second point is I'd like to emphasize the first of many strategies to defeat Donald Trump. And the one that I want to talk about today is recruiting anti-Trump Republicans to join the Democratic Party. As much as I love football and want to see Chicago win another Super Bowl, it has become clear that Donald Trump and the current Republican Party, aka MAGA Party, are attacking democracy itself, and unless we all stand up to this injustice, we will lose our freedom and suffer economic turmoil for many more years. And as many Americans can relate to, Donald Trump has badly mismanaged our economy, negatively affecting the everyday American. Number one, Trump's inconsistent tariff policies have made it difficult for businesses to make long-term plans. This tariff policy of putting on tariffs, taking off tariffs, putting on 10% on everyone, then making reciprocal tariffs, then increasing 25%. This does no one any good. This wildly inconsistent tariff policy has made it very difficult, especially on small businesses, to plan ahead, and has caused everyday American constant anxiety as they see that their stock options, their 401k retirement plans go down the drain. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq has lost at least $6 billion, if not, or 6 trillion. It's the number is just much higher than whatever I could possibly count, and it's just really tough to see Donald Trump screwing up our economy. Number two, the price of many everyday items such as eggs and apples have gone up, even when Trump tries to distract you by saying that the price of eggs and gas have gone down. Since January 1st, the price of eggs, gas, everyday items have gone up. And now there's a tariff tax on several different items, basically our quote Trump tax because on items because they're being imported and people are still unclear about exactly how much is being taxed and by which country, etc. Number three, we have alienated our closest allies, European Union, Canada, Mexico, Japan, and South Korea, while we've strengthened China. This is exactly the opposite of Trump claiming again to make America great. Rather, he's weakened America as China has taken this opportunity to strengthen their ties, especially with Vietnam and other Southeast Asian countries. Number four, Trump has made sure his policies benefit his wealthy buddies while letting the everyday American suffer from his horrible economic policies. Notice in his tariffs, he has carved out exceptions for Apple, which would have been hit because they make a lot of products in India and China. Big Pharma, even though he's talked about like being tough on them and trying to make more drugs here in the US, he has just literally made a new policy for Medicare where they have to pay more for specific drugs made by Big Pharma. He's giving the Big Pharma an increased it's pretty complicated, but here's what happens. Usually Medicare can negotiate down the cost of drugs after a certain period of time. It's like 9 years usually or so forth. But now he wants to make it so Medicare cannot negotiate down the prices of big pharma drugs until much later. In other words, big pharma can charge whatever they want, and Medicare cannot challenge them um, for a longer period of time. So that way, big pharma makes more money. So for all his talk about saying we want generic drugs here in the US and want to build factories to make generic drugs here in the US, in reality, he's just allowing big pharma to actually make more money because we, the American public, have to pay more for many more years because we don't get the benefits of Medicare negotiating down our drug prices. And if you don't think this affects you if you have private insurance, you're wrong. The private insurance companies can use the information from Medicare's negotiation to then negotiate with the big pharma companies to reduce the cost of medications. So again, it affects everyone. The fact that Trump is giving out these exceptions to big pharma companies. Finally, let's talk about TurboTax. We used to have a free system where everyone can file, especially those with lower income, can file for free their income tax, their federal income tax. However, TurboTax has lobbied and have paid for Donald Trump's campaign, and as a result, Donald Trump has literally decided to get rid of that free application of filing income tax, especially for lower income people. So in other words, TurboTax will now get money from people who even don't have much money to begin with, especially those with lower income, if they use TurboTax's service to file their income tax. Literally, this is just, again, his horrible approach and what he's been trying to do: cut down social services, cut down Social Security, cut down Medicaid. This is all consistent with his plan because, quite honestly, he's a billionaire who just doesn't care about the everyday person. Getting back to one of my original points, that is, Donald Trump has been attacking our inalienable rights, specifically our right to due process. Morally, we must all stand up against Trump. We must make sure that those who we say are guilty are actually guilty. In the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, there is no credible evidence that he is an MS-13 member. Trump wants you to believe that anyone who wears a Chicago Bulls cap must be an MS-13 member. By using Trump's logic, Trump is saying that Michael Jordan is an MS-13 member because he wore a Bulls cap. In other words, Trump has no factual basis for his nonsense. Furthermore, the so-called confidential informant is a disgraced police officer who was fired from his job because of improper behavior. We also need to fight for our own constitutional rights. It's a very slippery slope. Once Trump locks up illegal immigrants without due process, he will then begin locking up U.S. citizens. In fact, Trump is already responsible for U.S. citizens such as Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez being arrested, jailed, and detained by ICE, despite proving to a judge that he is a U.S. citizen. If we don't stop Trump now, he is really just going to go after political enemies, any U.S. citizen, and just make up trumped up charges, basically fake charges against them, and have them detained by ICE or any other branch of the federal government. So why have I focused on flipping anti-Trump Republicans into becoming Democrats? I have seen numerous comments about either impeaching Trump or waiting until the 2026 midterm elections. However, by November 2026, we, the American people, will have suffered another 2 years of Trump and his Republican Congress majority, ruining our lives, our financial wealth, and stripping away our basic inalienable rights. Therefore, to oppose the Trump supporting Republican majority in Congress, we need to flip anti-Trump Republicans into Democrats so that the Democrats have the majority instead and can stop Trump at the congressional legislative level. basically just repeating what I said on the last slide. So how can we everyday US citizens make a difference? That is why I'm imploring everyone to reach out to anti-Trump Republicans on their official gov webpage and ask them to change parties and become Democrats. Right now, I have identified anti-Trump Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska as a strong candidate to be flipped into the Democratic Party. Senator Lisa Murkowski has a track record opposing Trump and supports Democrats on issues such as liberty, due process, academic freedom, and not harming our international allies with arbitrarily high tariffs. She has also admitted that she is afraid of retribution from Trump and other Republicans because of her opposition to Trump policies. Therefore, this is the perfect time to begin recruiting anti-Trump Republicans like her to join the Democrats in opposing Trump. Like me, you can email and message her on her Alaska Gov website. I provided the links below. And if you do, please let me know. Thank you. Final thoughts. Remember, we all have the power to help change Congress and stop Donald Trump right now. It is a false narrative that we have to wait until Trump is impeached or suffer 2 more years of Trump-led Republican Congress passing whatever legislation that Trump wants. Remember, the only way to defeat the Trump-led Congress, Republican Congress right now is by flipping anti-Trump Republican Congress members into the Democratic Party. You can do your part by helping me recruit anti-Trump Republicans into the Democratic Party by going to their official government website and asking them to change parties. And if you do, just message me or just let me know. Thank you. And with that, this concludes a very different This Week in Review in Chicago, Mostly Bears. Again, I'm Professor Matt. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you all next week.